Bonjour à tous. Eh bien, écoutez, merci beaucoup d'être là aujourd'hui. Donc, c'est votre Career Center qui organise cette conférence pour vous aujourd'hui. Je vous présente Monsieur Tony Restell, qui est en face de vous pour une présentation, vous l'avez compris, sur le marketing de soi et notamment l'usage des réseaux sociaux. Donc cette présentation va vous être faite en anglais. Je vais laisser Tony Restell se présenter lui-même et vous parler un petit peu de son parcours. Vous allez voir qu'il a un parcours très riche. Donc vous avez la chance d'avoir en face de vous un interlocuteur très pointu qui maîtrise très très bien son sujet. Donc n'hésitez pas à participer. Si vous souhaitez poser des questions, sachez qu'il parle très bien français. Donc vous pouvez poser vos questions en français, même s'il les répondra sûrement en anglais. Mais en tout cas, n'hésitez pas à poser vos questions pour avoir des précisions. Donc merci à lui et je lui laisse la parole.
Bonjour tout le monde, vous m'entendez? Ok, super. Je vais présenter en anglais, mais si vous voulez demander des questions en français, ça me va très bien. So, today we're going to be talking about the role of LinkedIn and social networking in your career. And firstly, I want to congratulate you all on coming today. I was at a school last week catching up with students that I presented to a few months ago, specifically on the subject of LinkedIn and using this to get a job and to brand themselves. All the students who'd attended that session and implemented the ideas, they all had lots of job interviews lined up, lots of them had lots of job offers, and that had all come through what they'd done on LinkedIn and their social networks. The people I met who were having troubles were those who hadn't attended that session or who hadn't gone away and done the things that we talked about. So it's a fantastic first step that you're all here today. I think what we're going to be talking about is really going to help you in your career, both when you graduate from here and also in the next few years of your career as well. So what we're going to be talking about firstly is how companies are hiring today. So this has changed enormously over the last few years, and I'm not going to spend ages on this, but I just want you to understand the paramount importance that LinkedIn now has. Because of that, it's absolutely key that you have a LinkedIn profile that's been optimized in terms of keywords, in terms of search criteria, so that your ideal employers find you when they're looking for jobs. So we're going to talk about specific things that you should change in your profile and in your settings so that you get seen a lot more. And what's great about LinkedIn, you can actually see the statistics. So you can see how often you're appearing in searches. What are recruiters searching for that you're appearing in the searches of? So you can really see if this is working well for you. You can see the types of recruiters that are looking at your profile. Really, really great feedback you get from the site. That isn't all, though, because increasingly important today are employee referral networks. So this is where companies have a technology platform looking for potential staff who are contacts of people already in the business. And this has become companies' preferred way of hiring. So I also want you to understand how those work. The key thing is they tap into LinkedIn. So if you have a good LinkedIn profile and you have a good LinkedIn network, you're already set up for success with that. All of the things we've talked about there are us making sure that you are found by recruiters and employers that would like to hire you, okay? But there'll be times in your career, and maybe during your studies here, where you also want to be more proactive. You want to go out and get yourself noticed, get conversations started, maybe with hiring decision makers in your future career, maybe people you want to sell to or form business partnerships with. So we're also going to talk about some ideas of how you go about doing that. Okay? So we don't need to know a great deal about me, but just a couple of key things. So I started my career in strategy consulting. I launched a consulting careers website and sold that to JobSite and the Daily Mail. So I've been in digital recruitment space for the best part of 20 years and working with lots of the types of companies you would like to join. So people like McKinsey, Accenture, Capgemini, all these types of companies. But what I saw after the financial crash was more and more companies reducing their job advertising spend and putting that budget instead into social media into finding candidates on LinkedIn, into advertising to candidates on Facebook. And so I launched a social media agency to help recruiters with precisely that challenge. So what we're talking about today is exactly what I see companies doing day in, day out to hire students and to hire experienced hires. As you'd expect, I'm very active on social media myself, so you'll find me on Twitter, @TonyRestell, on LinkedIn. If you'd like to connect with me in either of those places, I'm happy to answer questions over the coming weeks. Okay, so let's get things started and talk about how social media has changed the hiring market. So, two big things I'd like you to take into consideration. Over the last 30, 40 years, recruiters have had a big problem, and that's gone away with LinkedIn. The big problem is if you advertise a vacancy and you wait for applications to come in, what happens if you don't have candidates that have all the things you've asked for? If you have a list of 10 key things you want your students to have, 10 key things you want your experienced hires to have, if all the candidates you get in only tick 7 out of the 10 boxes, then you have to hire people who don't actually have all the skills that the company wants. And for years and years, this has been a problem that whenever there's an economy that's doing well, there are fewer candidates, there are lots of jobs competing for those candidates, and companies have had to accept making hires of people who don't have all the skills they want. And then in recession, that's reversed. So there's then loads of candidates, not that many jobs, and there's a better chance that you get people who tick all the boxes you want. What's happened with LinkedIn and other social sites is companies don't have to accept that anymore. If I'm a recruiter and I say, right, I want someone who speaks fluent German, fluent French, fluent English, they must have been to the following schools, I want them to have had some work experience in one of the following companies, they must have these keywords and skills on their profile, I can just go onto LinkedIn and find those exact people and then send them a message and invite them to interview directly. So that's a huge change that LinkedIn has brought about. And the second change is just the cost. You know, it used to be only the very top search firms in the world, the headhunting firms, that would have a database of all the best candidates in any given market. Today, anyone that wants to buy a license with LinkedIn can have access to most candidates in most markets in the world. And so that's allowing every company out there to set up their own internal headhunting team. And anyone who wants to set up a recruitment business can have a database of candidates, you know, within a matter of hours. Okay? So two huge changes. Now, we don't need to spend too long on this, but I just want to show you how things have changed. What I'm showing you here, if we think of companies and them wanting to recruit in a market, how much of the market can they reach? Over here is they're reaching the whole market. So if we think of the student market, how many students can we reach through any channel? Everyone or hardly anyone? And then how much does it cost to recruit through that channel? So the higher up you go, the more expensive that channel is. Now, long time ago, before any of you were thinking about your careers, recruitment agencies, newspaper advertising was where the whole of recruiting happened. Expensive channels, you would pay 20,000 euros, maybe even 30,000 euros for a newspaper advert to run. You would pay a similar sum of money for a recruitment business to find you your next hire. Okay? And crucially, companies would like to have a channel that's down here, that's low cost, but that reaches the whole market. Okay? So that didn't exist. Then if we fast forward, what happened next? Well, then we had the arrival of job board businesses. So anywhere online where companies could advertise jobs. Think of places like Monster or thefinancialtimes.com, JobSite, Indeed, anywhere where a company can place an advert online. All of a sudden, they had a channel here that was only 200 euros, 300 euros per advert. And yet it reached a lot of the same people as newspaper adverts. So unsurprisingly, employers poured into this, and this became their biggest way of recruiting candidates. And if you've been studying here 6, 7 years ago, the conversation we'd be having right now is if you go and look on all the graduate job boards, you'll be able to find every employer you want to join advertising the vacancies. So it would be a question of finding those jobs and applying to them online. That isn't the case today. Because what we've got is the emergence of social media. So all of a sudden, there's now a channel that gives companies access to the whole market and actually at really quite low cost. And that's a massive gain over job boards. Who looks at a job board? Someone who wants a new job. Okay, who doesn't look at a job board? Everyone else. Everyone who's happy in their job, everyone who's studying, who hasn't got round to looking for a job yet. But everyone's using social media. So if we put an advert on social media in front of the right people, we reach everyone. If we search on LinkedIn and other sites, we reach everyone. Okay? So this is the massive change that's taken place. So if we think about that, huge shift in the availability of information about candidates, and linked to that, the speed and reach of referral programs has now massively increased. Because there's now this public database of every candidate out there, employee referral technologies can also find lots of candidates as well. So we're going to talk about this in a moment. The third change that's happened is the ability of companies to have their own audience. Does everyone know the London Eye? Everyone picture the London Eye? Okay, so it takes about 450 people. And next door to it is the London Aquarium. And we had one of the biggest consulting firms in the world approach us. This is going back 10 years now. They said to us, we want to fill the London Eye with candidates who are the right quality to join our business. And we're asking the newspapers to run adverts to fill half that event. And we're asking you, top consultant, to run adverts to fill the other half of the event. So this consultancy was spending tens and tens and tens of thousands of euros just to advertise and get people along to that event. Okay? If they were to run that event today, they wouldn't need to pay anyone. Because all the big companies now have social media sites specifically for their careers teams. So anyone that wants to join that consulting firm, anyone that wants to join that retail company, that investment bank, there are social media accounts now specifically for that audience. And in lots of cases, they have hundreds of thousands or even millions of followers of people that want to join that company. So if you run that kind of event now, companies, they're their own publishers. They have their own audience they can market to. So what happens when companies are looking to fill a new job now? Now, let me just say in terms of students, obviously, you have companies coming on campus, presenting with a graduate recruitment program, and you have to apply by a certain date, and then you have rounds of interviews afterwards. That obviously is still happening, so don't ignore that. But alongside that, within the company, they're also recruiting lots of other graduate positions that aren't part of that graduate hiring program. And those positions are being filled by recruiters looking for students, looking for candidates, and approaching them directly. So what do you need to know? Well, the key thing is the rise of the hidden jobs market. The hidden jobs market are all those jobs that you and I can't find. If we go on the internet now and we search for them, no matter how hard we look, we can't find these jobs because they're not being publicly advertised. And in the States, there have been studies done in the last couple of years that now estimate 60%, 60%, of all the jobs being advertised for graduates, for professionals, for executives, are all being filled through the hidden jobs market. So if recruiters who have those jobs don't find you, then you are never being considered for the majority of jobs you would like to secure in your career. Okay? So what happens when a company has a new role to fill? Well, the first thing that's going to happen is that the internal recruitment team they've now built are going to be asked to go out and find candidates that look like the perfect fit and approach those candidates directly and ask them to come in for interview. Okay? Simultaneously, if the company has an employee referral program, that technology is going to be kicked off as well. And it's going to look, who do our existing staff know who look like a perfect fit for this role? And those people will be invited in for interview as well. If it's not a sensitive position, the company may also announce it on their social media sites. Although generally they're going to announce big recruitment drives rather than individual jobs. Because you can imagine if you're an employer with 100,000 people worldwide, to announce every single job on your social media accounts, you know, is going to make them pretty dull to follow. Okay? So they may alert followers about some of the roles or some of the hiring drives. But companies do like to fill roles without announcing them at all. Think of a company here in France. Imagine now that they have realized they need to launch a totally new part of their business to prepare them for the arrival of artificial intelligence or to exploit big data or because their competitors are doing something they need to react to. They would rather fill those jobs without announcing them publicly. They don't want their competitors to know what they're up to. So if they can fill all of those positions without advertising them, that's their preferred route. Okay? So what do you need to do then if that is what companies are now doing? So I'd say there's 3 things you need to do. The first, you need to have keyword optimized and complete profiles on the social networks that are important in your market. So if you're looking to get a job outside of France when you graduate, you also need to look at what social sites are most important in those countries as well. So in Germany, for example, you'd have Xing. LinkedIn is very important in the US, the UK, and across Europe. Depends where you're targeting. Secondly, you need to expand your network at every opportunity. And we're going to talk about why that's important in a bit. And thirdly, I'd encourage you to go out and follow the accounts of any companies you think you might want to join over the next few years of your career. You've got a great opportunity right now while you're a student. If you were to join, I don't know, a consulting business when you graduate, and all of a sudden you start following the careers accounts of other consulting businesses, that's going to look rather odd to your current employer. It's going to make them worry about whether you're committed to staying with them. So you've got this opportunity right now to go out and follow those accounts and get their updates in your feed. Okay? So these are the things we need to do. Now, up until now, it's all been done by recruiters manually. So if I'm a recruiter, I'm recruiting for, let's say, Accenture, I would go on to LinkedIn, I would search for my ideal candidates, and then I would send messages out to invite them in for interview. But what's even more impressive is the way that artificial intelligence is now being used to take lots of these tasks and to actually automate them and improve them. So I've got a very short video here to show you. We're just going to watch this for about 45 seconds. And this is a tool called HireTool.
The next function HireTool has is AI sourcing. It's probably the best feature overall for HireTool. All you have to do is enter in a job description or a specific title, such as PHP developer. Now what this search is going to do is find the best 300 candidates for this specific rec. What it will do is search throughout the whole web and go through its database to make sure that you only see the best of the best. To get it started, all you have to do is click on Start AI Sourcing Now. After you do that, it will take you to the AI Sourcing task page.
Okay, so this is a tool called HireTool. They've just got millions of pounds of funding, and they have over 40,000 recruiters using this tool worldwide. Now, did you see what happened? The recruiter just copies and pastes their job advert, or they type in the job title, and then it automatically populates. These are all the skills that we would expect someone to have to be a good fit for that job title. The recruiter then just puts in other information about the location they want, any companies they want to avoid targeting, and then HireTool goes off and looks across the whole web. So it doesn't just look on LinkedIn, it's looking on GitHub, on Google+, anywhere where there's profile information about people, and then it's returning to the recruiter, in this case, the best 300 candidates. They could also set it as the best 50 candidates. What's crucial about that is it's not recruiters then deciding if you should even be considered for this role. It's a computer looking at the job description, looking at your LinkedIn profile, and then saying, are you a strong match? So what you put on your LinkedIn profile is directly influencing whether you're even being considered for these roles. Okay? So that's the first example of AI. The second example, this is even happening with jobs you apply to. So there's lots of these tools, but I've put one here called Karen.ai. Karen receives all of the job applications that are made to lots of big companies and then looks at the job advert, looks at your email and the attachments, and figures out, are you one of the strongest candidates for this role? If you are, you're put forward to the recruiter to consider inviting you for interview. If you're not, you go into the rejection pile. And then you get your email advising your application hasn't been successful. If you're one of the candidates that does look strong, you go to the recruiter. If they like you, then Karen will then organize the interviews with you. So Karen, a computer, is going to email back and forth with you to arrange a time and a location for your interview, and then to send you a reminder about that nearer the time. So you're in the generation where more and more recruiting is going to be being done by computers, and you really need to be attuned to that. Okay, so on to the key things you need to do. How do we need to rework our social media presence if we want to tap into this hidden jobs market? Okay, so recruiters, what we need to do is reverse engineer what they're doing. Okay, if you were a recruiter and you were wanting to recruit graduates from universities across Europe, what would be the kind of things you would search for if you were looking for a particular role? Okay, because that's going to give you an idea of the keywords, the skills that you need to include on your profile. Okay, so what I've done here is put some screen grabs up. You'll have these slides afterwards, so you can go back and refer to them. But one of the first things I would do is go onto a site like LinkedIn, or you could use Indeed or Monster, whatever site you like, where you can find a good number of job adverts. And what you want to do is head to the section that talks about our ideal candidate. Most job adverts will usually have a section that says, our ideal candidate must have this or that. Key requirements for this role are something like that. In graduate job ads, you'll see the same. Must have fluency in this language, must have studied these subjects, must have familiarity with Microsoft Excel, must have data analytical skills, etc., etc. This is giving you the information for what a recruiter would be looking for if they were trying to find candidates like you. Okay? I'll give you a classic example. I was talking to a student in the last couple of weeks, and he wanted to get a job in business development. Okay? We looked at his profile, and it was full of business development. He'd done a good job of making sure that was in his profile. But nowhere did he have the word sales. Nowhere did he have the word selling. So we said, okay, well, if 2/3 of all recruiters' searches are going to be them saying, show me candidates who've got sales in their profile or selling in their profile, that means 2/3 of the jobs you would like to be being considered for, you're never even in the running, just because you left those couple of keywords out of your profile. So that's why this kind of activity is really, really key. I suggest once you've decided during the course what it is you want to get into for your role when you graduate, go away and find a lot of these jobs, make a note of all the things companies are asking for, and what you'll find is they're very similar. So if you're looking for business analyst roles, you'll see a lot of the same things appearing as must-haves. If you're looking for a junior marketing role, it'll be a lot of the same things appearing on that list. So your challenge is to figure out, how can I make sure I add as many of those keywords as possible to the sections of my profile? Okay. If you've got access, does anyone have Premium, LinkedIn Premium? Okay. You'll see on LinkedIn, you have the ability to get a month's worth of free Premium. It's usually an icon at the top right of your screen. If you've got that information, at the bottom of any job advert, you'll see extra information, competitive intelligence for premium members, okay? This shows you the top 10 skills of other applicants. So this is a really great place to discover what have I forgotten to include on my profile, okay? So here we're looking at business analyst roles, so exactly the sort of thing you might go to straight from school here. Other candidates have got management, leadership, Microsoft Office, business analysis, Microsoft Excel, teamwork, team leadership, data analytics, okay? So if you've got lots of those things, that's what needs to be on your profile so that when recruiters are searching, they start turning you up as a potential match, okay? So what we need to do is put ourselves in the shoes of a recruiter, pretend we're a recruiter, and reverse engineer that process. So hopefully everyone's familiar with a LinkedIn profile. You've got your summary section at the top. You've got your headline even above that. And then you've got a section for any experience you've had, if you've done internships or anything like that. And then you've got a section for education. So any of those places, you can include keywords. For example, your EMLYON section is a great place to include loads of keywords, okay? Think of all the courses you're studying here, all the course modules. Can someone shout me out some of the things you're studying? Okay, human resource management, entrepreneurship, strategic management, yeah, okay. So now think about that. Think about all the different course modules you're studying, and under your education section, talk about those. I've come to EMLYON in order to help me make a move into strategy consulting. Key modules I'm studying on the course include business strategy, digital marketing, financial analysis, financial reporting. All of a sudden, you've now got all those keywords on your profile. And so when a recruiter is searching, show me a student who's studying business strategy or has an interest in business strategy, all of a sudden you start appearing in those search results. Okay, so that's the kind of thing we're talking about here. Do the research to find out what those keywords are and then get them into your profile. But that on its own isn't enough. Okay, so there's also the skills section on LinkedIn. If you scroll down your profile, you'll see a section where you can add what you think are your key skills. For recruiters on LinkedIn, that is a filter. So recruiters can say, only show me candidates who say they have team leadership skills. Only show me candidates who say they have marketing skills, whatever it might be. So you need to have all the key things included in there as well, okay? This is all about getting you to feature in search results as much as possible, okay? And then last but not least, we need to make sure that we change our hidden career interest section, okay? So again, I've put a screen grab here. If you go in LinkedIn to the jobs section at the top of the screen, I think it's emploi in the French version, just underneath that, you'll have a link to career interests. So you want to click on that link, and then you'll end up on this page. Now, at the top of this page is an on-off button. And it says, let recruiters know you're open to conversations about a new job. So by turning that on, you increase the number of search results that you appear in to recruiters. So all the time you want a new job, you definitely want that section turned on. And then underneath, you're able to add in information about what are my ideal job titles? What are my locations of interest? Where is everyone today? Where are we? Is anyone not in Lyon right now? Okay, everyone's in Lyon. That probably means your LinkedIn profile says you're in Lyon. So when a recruiter is searching in Paris or in London or in New York for students who are going to be graduating, who are interested in a marketing position, are you likely to show up in their search results? Probably not. Certainly the New York and London ones, they probably haven't extended their search to the south of France. Okay? But if in this particular area you've added locations you're interested in, and you've said, I'd be interested in working in London, I'd be interested in working in New York, then LinkedIn sees a match between what the recruiter's searching for and what you're interested in. And so you get put into the search results, and because you've said you're interested in a career move, you get moved up the search results. One of the biggest problems LinkedIn has is there's so many people on it, and lots of them aren't actually interested in changing jobs right now. So recruiters can approach a lot of people, and lots of them aren't actually interested in having that conversation. So they love to be able to push up the rankings people who definitely are going to be interested when a recruiter contacts them. Okay? So that's why this section is so, so key. Okay? So, any questions on what we covered so far? In English or en français? No? Yes. Ok. Donc la question c'est, est-ce que c'est important d'avoir les recommandations sur LinkedIn? I would say les recommandations écrites par quelqu'un d'autre ou que les skills. Donc ça c'est important, mais les recommandations par les autres, c'est pas important. Parce que tout le monde sait, vous pouvez tous dire à l'autre, veuillez me donner une recommandation pour le skill de quoi que ce soit. We had fun in the recruitment world when LinkedIn first launched this site. And loads of recruiters around the world said, right, what's the most stupid skill I could be recommended for? And so there was a little competition had on social media. You know, I've put fishing on my profile, I've put beer drinking, I've put da-da-da. And then loads of other people went round and, you know, ticked, yes, Tony's got great beer drinking skills, or, you know, whatever it might be. And it was just to highlight how ridiculous this particular part of LinkedIn was, okay? So today, there's not that much weight, not that much importance put on how many people have endorsed you for that skill. It's whether you have it on your profile or not. Because if you think of a recruiter, they've done a search to look for students who are studying marketing, business, whatever, and LinkedIn says, right, we've got 1,000 results. And the recruiter's only got this afternoon to look through them and decide who to invite for interview. So what they want to do at that point is reduce the number down to something more manageable. And one of the easiest ways they can do that is to use the skills filter and say, okay, only show me candidates who have team leadership skills. Only show me candidates who have marketing skills, etc., etc. Okay? Now, have we got a pen over here? Okay, there's no pen. Not to worry. I want you to imagine that you're all poor students. You don't have as much money as you'd like to have fun here at EMLYON, and you're thinking of ways that you could earn more money to stay here and have a good time, okay? And you decide, I'm going to set up a website to sell iPhone accessories. And people are going to flock, they're going to buy my iPhone accessories, and I'm going to have tons of money to have a great lifestyle here at EMLYON, okay? The only problem is you've got no budget. You're a poor student, so you can't pay to advertise this site. You really need to get it into page 1 of Google, okay? If we can get our website into page 1 of Google so that it's appearing lots in search results, is that enough for you to get lots and lots of iPhone sales? Who thinks it is? Who thinks it isn't? And has everyone else fallen asleep? No? Okay. So if we think about that just for a minute, got your iPhone sales, you've got appearing in Google search results. Okay. Now let's imagine by some miracle, you found someone in the class who's great at getting websites onto page 1 of Google. So you now have your iPhone accessories page is on page 1 of Google. Unfortunately, the headline that appears in Google says test site, hoping this will work soon. And underneath it says, just experimenting with whether I can set up a page to sell people iPhone accessories. Hopefully live soon. Are you going to get lots of people clicking through to buy iPhone accessories? Okay, lots of shakes of the head. No, of course you're not. Okay, so it's not enough to appear on page 1 of Google search results. We also need to have a great headline, a great bit of information that people see about us in those search results to make them want to click through to you. Okay? Let's imagine you have a great headline, though. Let's imagine your Google search result says, the best possible prices on iPhone accessories anywhere in the world and the best selection. Click here to find out more. Do you think you're now going to sell loads of iPhone cases? Hands up if you think you are. Okay. Now imagine when someone clicks on that link, they go through to a page and the page looks horrible. And on the buy button, it doesn't seem to work properly. It seems to take 10 seconds to go through to the purchase page. And at the top of the page, Google's flagging this site isn't secure. Are you still confident you're going to make lots of sales? Probably not, right? Okay, so you've also got to have a great sales page. Now, I've taken just a couple of minutes to make that comparison because this is exactly a replica of what you need to achieve with LinkedIn, okay? It's great if you can get the keywords and the skills and the settings on your profile so that you start appearing in loads more searches. Clearly, if 500 recruiters see you in their search results this month instead of 10, you're in a much better position to be getting offers of interviews and ultimately to have a job at the end of your studies. But that alone isn't enough, okay? Who would like to guess what the top headline is for a student on LinkedIn? Anyone? Student. Anyone else? So you're essentially right. Student, student at, MBA student, master's student, okay? Now, let's imagine we're a recruiter for your ideal position. Does someone know what sector they want to get into when they graduate? Anyone? Anyone want to get into marketing? Okay, there we go, marketing, right. So let's imagine you're a recruiter. You've done a search on LinkedIn and it said, oh, there's 1,000 students who match your search criteria, and you're searching down the page, you're scrolling and scrolling, and it says MSc student, MBA student, master's student at EMLYON, master's student at Sorbonne, master's student of history, okay? There's nothing there to make me, as a graduate recruiter of marketing people, want to click on any of those people more than anything else. Agreed? And what's worse is if I click on all those people, most of them will be a waste of time. Because when I get through to their profile, it'll say, I'm really looking forward to pursuing a career in environmental consulting. I really want to go and work for a charity when I graduate. I want to get into investment banking. I want to go and join a venture capital firm. So for a marketing recruiter, that's incredibly frustrating because you're wasting all this time on people who have no interest in what you offer, okay? Now imagine that in amongst those search results, there's someone where it's very obvious that they are interested in getting a marketing position when they graduate. How much more likely am I to click on that person rather than anyone else. Okay, so with that in mind, what I would recommend is you need to have a headline that sells yourself and makes you stand out to relevant recruiters, okay? So we want to avoid saying master's student at EMLYON, for example. Instead, I suggest you write a USP, so a unique selling point about you, plus your career interest, plus when you graduate. Your USP, it could be you're a scholar student. It could be you're trilingual. It could be you're a great team leader. It could be you're entrepreneurial. Could be you're in the top 10% of your class. Whatever it is, something that makes you a bit more interesting than the other students in that list, okay? Then your career interest. So looking to pursue a career in marketing. Eager to secure a career in consulting. Okay, these things will make the recruiters that have those jobs pay far more attention to you than anyone else. Okay, so I've put an example there, and you've got these slides afterwards, so you can refer back to it, but trilingual master's student looking to pursue a career in consulting or career in marketing upon graduation in July 2019. Can you see how a recruiter who has consulting jobs is going to be far more likely to click on that than just someone that says master's student at EMLYON? Okay, so try and write yourself a headline like that. And what's particularly important about this, your headline appears everywhere on LinkedIn. When you appear in the homepage feed of LinkedIn, people see your name, your photo, and your headline. If you look at other people's profile and they're looking at the page of who's looked at my profile, they see your name, your photo, your headline. When you send someone a connection request, they see your name, photo, and headline. So this headline is the most important real estate you have anywhere on LinkedIn. And I'll just give you one quick example of that. I was working with one student that wanted to get into event management. So he wrote a headline that referenced specifically he was looking to get into a career in event management when he graduated. And then he went and joined lots of LinkedIn groups for event management professionals. And he got involved in some of the conversations there. Every single time he posted something, or every single time he commented, everyone saw his headline, looking to pursue a career in event management in December, da-da-da. As the year of studies went on, he got more and more connection requests from people who were in that event management group, and then more and more messages from them saying, hey, you know, I've really enjoyed our conversations in the event management group, and I see you're trying to get into our industry. Are you still looking? Because we're recruiting right now. I'd like to put you forward as a candidate. So imagine that. This particular student ended up with 6 job offers that all came from people approaching him on LinkedIn, wanting to interview him and wanting to recommend him to their company. Okay? And he was at a regular school. It's not like this was someone at Harvard or NCAD or somewhere that everyone will be interested in. It's just at a regular school wanting to get a career in event management. So that's the importance of your headline. Last but not least, you need to write a summary that does a great job of selling your main points. If you're in the top 10% of your class, if you're trilingual, if you've done an internship with Renault, if, I don't know, you've been responsible for budgeting for the university ball, anything you've done, if you've led a team of people, anything you've done that will impress a recruiter, get it into that opening summary. It's the first impression that you create. And imagine, again, a recruiter clicking through to look at hundreds of people's profiles, and they've only got this afternoon to decide who they're going to interview. They're going to quickly think, is this a good candidate or not? If they think it's a good candidate, then they'll spend more time on your profile looking at the rest of it. But if the summary doesn't impress them, or even worse, there isn't a summary at all, they may well just click the back button and go and look at someone else. Okay? So, other things to take into consideration. Obviously, what we're talking about here increases how often you appear in search results, but it is important that your profile reads well as well. So I've seen a few students make the mistake of just having, you know, a list of keywords somewhere in their profile. Try and avoid that. Try and make the keywords fit into the rest of your profile. And make sure your profile is consistent with your CV. You should all be assuming now that if a recruiter is looking at your CV, they're probably also looking at your LinkedIn profile and any other social media profiles you have at the same time. Okay? So make sure they're consistent. And don't limit yourself to LinkedIn. Okay? A couple of other things to consider. Facebook. Yes. So the question is, if you're not sure yet what career you want to get into, how would you handle that with your headline and with your career summary? In terms of your headline, you try and word it in a way that it would still appeal to people. So let's say you're considering strategy consulting or going to work in a corporate like Unilever or P&G. You might say you're looking to pursue a strategy career upon graduation. So you don't say consulting, you don't say a career in industry, but you try and say something that would still make it appeal to all the options you're considering. Obviously, if you're thinking of maybe volunteering, maybe investment banking, maybe consulting, it's very hard to write a headline that literally covers everything. But try and keep it that way. And the other advice I give you is have as many conversations with people as soon as possible, so that you can get to the point that you have decided. Because the sooner you can write your whole profile to be focused on one sector, the better you're going to do ultimately. Okay. In terms of Facebook, so we talked earlier about that London Eye example. I'm not saying here change the settings of your Facebook so that any recruiter can see it. We're absolutely not saying that. Okay, that's your private profile. Keep it for your friends, family. But what you can change on Facebook is the information that Facebook holds about you. And that is used for advertising. So if I were to be running a campaign for a consulting firm to get candidates along to that London Eye event, or the equivalent here in France, I can say, right, run this campaign, show it to students who are within 100 kilometers of Lyon, show it to students who are interested in marketing, show it to students who speak fluent English and French, and depending on the information that Facebook holds about you, you'll be shown that advert or you won't be shown that advert. So you want Facebook to have enough information about you that when companies are advertising to reach students with job opportunities, they're actually shown to you. Okay? So that's the change I would suggest making with Facebook. If you're on Twitter, again, just put a keyword or a hashtag in your profile that will make it easy for recruiters in that field to find you. Okay? So if you're trying to get into marketing, make sure that your Twitter profile includes the fact that you're a student looking to get into a career in marketing. And then if recruiters are using Twitter for that, they'll find you. Okay? Right. Let's move on to employee referral programs. And the importance of having a big network. People often ask me, should I accept connections from more people or should I keep it really limited? Okay, let's try and answer that one. But first of all, I want to show you some data. So this is a survey that was done with employers saying, where do you get the best quality of candidates from? And I don't know if you can read that at the back or not, but the top line, and it's way out in the lead, is employee referrals. Okay? Employers love employee referrals. If you know someone at a company already, you're more likely to join because you know what the company is like. You're more likely to stay and be successful because there's no shocks when you join because you already know someone there, you know what the culture's like. If there's any problems or challenges with working there, you already know about them. And you're more likely to accept an offer because you'd be letting down someone you know at that firm if you didn't. Okay? So employee referrals, absolutely the top source of quality candidates. Second best is social media, so going via LinkedIn and job adverts on Facebook and the like. And then traditional job boards, company websites, campus recruiting. So what you can hopefully see here is if you don't do what's needed to appear in employee referral results, you are locking yourself out of companies' preferred way of finding people. Okay, now, let's just see. Right. Not the most effective, but that'll do. So, I need 2 volunteers, and you don't have to do anything other than tell me your name. Bawan. My apologies in advance that I don't spell this correctly. M. Okay, that's fine. And someone else who please has a shorter name than Marwan. Yulia. Okay. Okay. Now, this is going to come as a big shock to you all. What you've not realized during your studies is that Marwan and Yulia are actually twin brother and sister. Did you know that? Okay. It's funny, they've been to the same school. They've always got the same grades. They've got a lot of the same friends. And even the work they've done during their summer holidays and the internships they've done, identical. They also helped one another to write their LinkedIn profiles. So their LinkedIn profiles look the same as well. And they've got the same grades here at EMLYON. They're studying the same subject. For me as a recruiter, there is no reason to choose Yulia or Marwan over the other. They're identical candidates. Except for one thing. Ah, well, yes, the photo is different, you're right. Hadn't thought of that. One thing. Yulia has always loved social media. She's connected to everyone she's ever come into contact with, all her old school friends, everyone here at university, all the people she's met at careers events. Marwan, on the other hand, never really saw the point and hasn't connected to that many people. Okay? So what does that look like in practice? So, and this is really important as you go on in your career. Okay? So Yulia now has a contact at Google. She has a contact at Renault. She has a contact at Air France. She has a contact at Apple. And so on and so forth. Think of all the companies you would like to join, and the chances are Yulia knows someone there. Someone she used to go to school with, that she used to do guides with, that she used to play netball with, whatever it might be, is connected to her and is at one of those companies. Marwan, unfortunately, doesn't have those connections, okay? And this is where it's key, employee referral programs. Because if now, let's say a company, let's say Disney, for argument's sake, has a new job they want to fill. Yulia, Marwan, both perfect candidates for it. Because Yulia has a contact at Disney, the minute they turn on the employee referral program, it goes, oh, look, Yulia knows Brian, who's in our finance department. So she's now immediately being considered for that role. But because Marwan doesn't have those contacts, he's not considered at all. Okay? So this is why the size of your social network and who you have contacts with is really, really important. A secondary reason is on sites like LinkedIn, you get promoted up the search results if you're more closely connected to the person searching than someone else, okay? So, how do these programs work? So let's imagine you've joined a company, and on one of the first days in the office, they say, hey, we've got an employee referral program. If we hire anyone you know, and you were the person that invited them to apply, will pay you a bonus of 3,000 euros. Would you like to be involved? Of course, someone said. Of course is the correct answer. Companies that have implemented these schemes have 90–95% take-up. So almost the whole company gets involved. And all the person has to do is connect up their LinkedIn account, their Twitter account, their Facebook account, so that the next time the company has a new job, it'll look at your LinkedIn connections. It'll look at your Facebook, your Twitter connections. Okay? And then it's super simple. There's no work for the employee. You literally get an email, let's say each week, saying, hey, we're looking to fill a graduate marketing job. We're looking to fill this executive position. And you know someone who we think would be a great fit. Would you like to send the job to them? All you have to do is press the share button. And by doing that, you stand to get the 3,000 euro bonus if that person's hired. Now, I want you to imagine something for a minute. Imagine you're now in work, you're sat there in the office, and you get an email from someone you've never heard of, and it said, I'd be interested in talking to you about a job. Are you going to open that email and respond to it from someone you've never heard of? Maybe. Maybe not. Now imagine you get the email from your old best friend at school. And it says, hey, Julia, we're looking to fill a marketing position in our company at the moment. I thought you'd be a great fit for it. Click here to have a look. How likely are you to look at that email? Much more likely. Okay? So these tools are really powerful because companies get great results from them because they tap into people who are much more likely to respond. And then when they look at the job, are much more likely to actually want to join the company because they already know people there who are doing well. Okay? But your chances of being picked up by these tools are limited by two things. Firstly, have you done a good job of writing your LinkedIn profile in particular? Does the computer think you're a good match for the job? And secondly, do you have contacts at that firm? So the more contacts you've got at different firms, the more chances you're giving yourself to be approached with jobs. And what's really key about this, if you talk to people now who are a few years into their careers, there'll be two camps of people. There'll be people who hardly ever get anyone approaching them, wanting to hire them. And so the next time they need a new job, they have to go out and try and get one. And then there's all the people who are just regularly getting approached. We'd love to interview you for this position. We'd love to interview you for this promotion. Okay, so that's obviously the camp you want to be in. You had a question? So if you get connections from people you absolutely don't know, then I would be a little bit more wary. If there's a good reason for them to want to connect to you, let's say they're a recruiter, and they've written you a message and they've said, hey, Marwan, I'm a recruiter in the consulting industry. We help a lot of students from places such as EMLYON. I thought it would be useful for us to be connected. If you get that kind of message, there's an obvious reason for it, then I would accept that. If you get a connection request from someone and you can't understand why they've wanted to connect with you and they've not sent a message, then that one I would not follow up on. Okay? So, everything we've covered so far has been talking about how to get you noticed by the recruiters and employers that have the jobs that you want, okay? I want to spend the last 10 minutes, and then we'll open things up to questions. I want to spend the last 10 minutes talking about how you can get on the radar of recruitment decision makers and further in your career, business decision makers. Okay, so what are some things you want to do? So you've got a great profile. You've got a headline that every time people see it is going to remind them you're looking to get a career in the event management industry. You're looking to get a graduate marketing job, okay? So you want to get that in front of relevant people as often as possible. Can I just see who uses Buffer? Any users of Buffer here? Does anyone use Feedly? One Feedly user. Okay. So, while I've been talking to you here, you didn't see me do it, but I tweeted. Okay? And actually, I didn't tweet, but there's a tweet gone out on my account, and that's been done by Buffer. Okay? So I'm going to show you these tools. What you want on LinkedIn, let's say you've decided to pursue a career in marketing. You want to be sharing things that will interest people in marketing on a regular basis. So that while you're sat here in lectures, while you're studying, while you're revising for exams, there are people in marketing noticing you, looking at your profile, suggesting to the business that you look like a good candidate to interview. Okay? So Buffer and Feedly are how you go about doing that. I'll start with Feedly. If you go to these two sites, they've both got free options. They both have smartphone apps. So you can do this while you're waiting in the queue for lunch, while you're standing waiting for the bus to come into lessons each day. Okay? Feedly, you set up what you're interested in. So let's say we're interested in sharing marketing content. So we find a few marketing websites that we want Feedly to tell us whenever they publish something new. Okay? And then down the side here, Feedly then suggests other sites you might be interested in that share very similar content. So you can also add those in if you want to. Okay? Now, each time you log into Feedly, it then shows you, here's the latest posts from the sites you asked me to monitor for you. So literally, in 5 minutes each Monday morning, you could go in and find 5 really good marketing pieces of content. Because you put in the sites that Feedly should search, and then you've added additional ones that are good. So now you've just got a constant stream of really good marketing content on your phone ready to share. Okay? Here I've got an example from social media. How to get more engagement with Facebook Live. 3 ways to turn Facebook Messenger ads into a powerful marketing tool. And this is, my social media category. So you can see these are immediately things that would be interesting to anyone who's trying to get results from social media. Okay? So that's your source of good content. Then if you go to Buffer, what you'll see on Buffer is you can add in your social media accounts. So you can add your LinkedIn profile, and then you set a schedule on Buffer, and you say, right, I'd like you to share each Monday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, each Tuesday at lunchtime, each Wednesday at the end of the day. And then as you add content to Buffer, it just puts it into that queue. So you find your content on Feedly, you say add to Buffer, all of that done from your mobile phone. By the time you've got to campus on Monday morning, you now have set up to share marketing content for the whole rest of the week. And if you do that each week, for the whole school year now, you're going to be getting more and more attention from people in marketing. And you can apply this to any sector. If you want to get into consulting, if you want to get into the airline industry, the car sector, whatever it is you want to get into, this is a great way of giving yourself visibility. Okay? The second thing you might do to get interest is to look at people's LinkedIn profiles. Now, I don't have the internet hooked up here, so I can't show you, but if you go onto your home page on LinkedIn, on the left-hand side, there's a link to who has viewed my profile. And if you are on a free account, I think you'll see the last 5 people that looked at your profile. If you're on a paid account, and all recruiters are on a paid account, you see the details of everyone that looked at your profile for the last 3 months. Recruiters pay a lot of attention to that page because they're interested in what candidates have been looking at me and maybe thinking about joining our company. And when you go to that page, you'll see people see your name, your photo, and your headline. So now imagine you want to get a career in marketing. You've said on your headline, trilingual master's student looking to pursue a career in marketing when I graduate on such and such a date. Now you go and look at the profiles of 20 recruiters in marketing companies, and they all see that headline in their feed. So then some of them turn around and have a look at your profile in turn because you sound like exactly the sort of person they would be interested in. It's all about turning social media into a numbers game for you, okay? if 1 in 3 people that you look at turn around and look at you, well, we know then, okay, if I look at 90 people's profiles, I'm going to have 30 of my ideal recruiters looking at my profile, okay? The next thing that's key is connecting, and connecting intelligently, okay? When you go on LinkedIn to send someone a connection request, you have the option of just sending it with no message, or clicking and it says add a note. I'm not sure what it says in French, but something similar, okay? LinkedIn recently got rid of the pretense that you only connect to people you know. When they rolled out the new site, now they don't ask you that anymore, and you're allowed 30,000 connections, okay? So there's no pretense anymore that this is just for people that you know really well. It's now a very proactive networking tool. So I was reluctant to put this here because I don't want you to go away and copy this kind of thing word for word, okay? It's going to be terrible if a Deloitte recruiter gets this message 30 times. I've just seen I put cast there. I should have had EMLYON, so my apologies. Would be great to connect. I'll be graduating from CAST later this year, and a number of our class, be graduating from EMLYON later this year, and a number of our class are looking to pursue a career in consulting. Do you have plans to be on campus recruiting in the next months out of interest? Great to be connected in any case. Regards, Tony. Now, again, this becomes a numbers game. Recruiters, in fact, anyone on LinkedIn, is more likely to accept your connection if you write a personal message. So that alone is a reason to write a personal message. You'll get acceptance of your connection request faster. But the second point is, now imagine recruiters start writing back. Let's imagine you send 100 connection requests and 10 recruiters respond to that message. And they say, hey, Julia, happy to be connected. We're not coming on campus at EMLYON this year, but we are going to be attending the careers fair in Lyon in December. It'll be great to get some of your class along. Let's go about organizing that, okay? Now you've got a contact at that consulting firm or whatever employer it is you're now in conversations with. How much more likely is it that something productive is going to come out of these connections if you're having lots of conversations like that? So I would encourage you to connect intelligently. Always use this type of messaging and turn everything into a numbers game. The other thing this allows you to do is then when you're getting close to graduation date, if you don't have enough job interviews lined up yet, you can also private message your connections. So if you've spent the next months growing contacts in the industry you want to get into, then nearer the time of graduating, you can reach out to people and see, you know, what's the market looking like? Is your company hiring right now? I'd love to grab some time on the phone with you. You use it proactively, okay? And again, it's a numbers game. If you send 100 of those messages, you're going to get 5, 10, 15 people respond back. Yeah, I'd be happy to jump on a call with you, or yeah, we're recruiting. Send me through your CV, okay? So it's all about being proactive. Okay, so share great content using Buffer and Feedly. Add hashtags on LinkedIn now is important. So that's a great way of being seen by some extra people that aren't connected to you. Look at people's LinkedIn profiles. So just research your industry, find recruiters and have a look at them, or even decision makers in the business. Connect intelligently, and then mention people. So when you post an update on LinkedIn, just like on Facebook, you can tag the name of someone you're connected to, and they will then get a notification that they've been included in a message, okay, in a post. That is a great way of starting conversations. Let's say you connect with 10 people at Deloitte, and you're sharing a piece of content that is the latest Deloitte results are out. You might then put a post out that says, you know, great to see Deloitte doing so well. There's lots of people here on campus thinking of joining Deloitte. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what it's like as a place to work. And then you tag the name of all the Deloitte connections that you've made. Now you're actually in conversation with those 10 people, and you've helped them because they've now got an opportunity to say something great about Deloitte and encourage people to join their company, okay? So mention people. The only limitation with that on LinkedIn is you can only mention people you're connected to. So you have to build the connections first, and then you can do this. But if you're in a LinkedIn group with someone, then you can mention them. So if you join a group for marketing professionals, or you join a group for people in the consulting industry, then you can mention any of those people in your group updates. And again, get the conversation started. And the other two things, comment on people's updates. So, you know, on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else, we're used to getting loads and loads of comments. But actually on LinkedIn, it's not so common. So when you get a comment on your post, you really notice it. So if you want to get noticed by people, go and comment on some of their posts. If you've connected with lots of people in the industry you want to get into, you're going to see their posts in your homepage feed. Just take 5 minutes each morning to comment on one or two of them, and then that brings you to their attention. They see your headline again. It's all about getting noticed. And the last thing, which is the simplest way of doing this, is just liking lots of updates from those people. I went and did one presentation at Bocconi in Italy, and there was one girl in the class who had way more profile views than anyone else. And we said to her, what are you doing to achieve this? And she said, well, early in the school year, I just connected to loads of people in my target industry. And now I sit down every morning with my cup of coffee, and I just go through the homepage feed, and I like 15 or 20 posts. And because those people then get a notification I've done that, it just makes loads of the right people look at my profile. Okay? So lots of different ideas you can use there. Incidentally, when you get into your career, we do this with lots of clients, and it's very powerful for generating new sales, for getting leads for your business, for getting business partners, for reaching out to investors. So this is really good for you to get used to now to find a job, but it's also going to be really useful to you further on in your career as well. Okay, so on that note, it's just gone 1:15. We have about 10 minutes for questions. I'm happy to take questions from the floor, or I'm happy for you to come up and see me individually afterwards. Est-ce que vous avez des questions? Levez la main. Ou est-ce que vous avez faim? Yes. Donc, si on ne connaît pas la personne qui vous a envoyé l'invitation, qu'est-ce qu'il faudrait faire? On avait eu à peu près la même question ici, mais en anglais. Je dirais regarder le profil du personne. Par exemple, s'ils sont des recruteurs, c'est normal qu'ils veulent augmenter leur network. Mais si vous voyez aucune raison qu'ils veulent connecter, soit n'acceptez pas, ou soit vous pouvez répondre pour demander c'est intéressant que vous m'avez contacté. Est-ce que je peux vous demander pourquoi vous avez suggéré la connexion? Et voyez ce qui se passe. Peut-être ils sont à la recherche des étudiants pour faire une internship ou quoi que ce soit et vous ne voulez pas le gâter. OK? D'autres questions? Other questions? Yes? C'est important d'avoir tous les deux. Donc, il faut avoir les keywords dans le profil entier, mais les recruteurs peuvent chercher par les skills que vous avez dans la section skills. Donc, c'est absolument impératif de les avoir dans tous les deux. OK? So what should your LinkedIn profile picture look like? Should it be professional? I would say have a picture that makes it look like you've made an effort. Okay? So you don't have to go into a photo studio and have an amazing picture, but it shouldn't be a selfie on the beach that you've cut down to just being your face. you don't want a recruiter to get a negative impression of you because they just think if you haven't made the effort to get a good business photo, what does that say about what the quality of your work's going to be when you join us? So just get a friend on a camera phone to take a picture of you in front of the EMLYON school so they see the logo in the background, or with a white background, and just wearing something that is professional looking. So not, beach clothes, but something you might wear to work. Okay? Yes? So should you turn on the on and off button on the career interest section if you're not actively looking for a job? That depends whether you would welcome being approached or not. What it's going to do is increase the number of recruiters that contact you interested in having a conversation with you about career moves. So if you absolutely don't want that, turn it off. But actually, if you are open to moving, if someone comes along with the right opportunity, then you would leave it on. LinkedIn say they don't show that information to your current employer. So if you're working for a company, the recruiters in that company wouldn't see that you're looking, but any other recruiters would. Okay? There was another question somewhere. Yes? Sorry, say again? So should you comment on an individual's posts or on the company's posts? I would usually comment on an individual's posts. In a group, companies can't join. So a group will only have people in. Some companies' pages are closely monitored, and so they will notice you've commented and you'll have a conversation with them. Others aren't so closely noticed, and so they might not notice it. But the other problem is you can't follow up. Let's say you comment on the post of a partner at Accenture. If they comment back, you then have a specific person you've got a relationship with that you can follow up with later in the year. Whereas if the same thing happens on the Accenture company page, you've got no way of following up with a specific person later. Okay? Yes? Quel est le temps? Ah, okay. Facebook does have now groups. So have a look in your particular industry. You may find that there's a very active group for that industry, in which case it is worth spending time on Facebook in that group. Otherwise, what you do on Facebook should be only visible to your friends and contacts. It shouldn't be visible to the whole world. So I would spend most of your time on LinkedIn. Depending on the sector you want to get into, Twitter is very heavily used in certain sectors, and it is a great way of starting conversations. Obviously, because the messages are so short, people will respond to you and interact with you on Twitter who might not have time to do that on LinkedIn, for example. So I hope that helps. Oui, ça dépend où est-ce que vous voulez travailler après. Donc, si vous n'avez aucun intérêt de travailler à Londres à cause de Brexit et tout ça, c'est pas la peine. Mais si vous aimeriez bien avoir des approches des recruteurs aux États-Unis ou en Angleterre, oui, il faut absolument avoir les deux. Parce que les recruteurs en Angleterre, ils vont chercher en anglais. Donc, si vous avez que le profil en français, vous ne serez pas dans leur search results. D'accord? Okay. I think that's it. If anyone wants to come and see me at the end for individual questions, you can. But thank you very much for your attendance and comments.